I'm going to
We're
show
live,
everybody
actually,
a.
Len.
I'm going to show you the cover of my issue of Munchkin coming out in February.
Ooh,
You know we're live,
sneak
right?
peek.
Yes, I do. Finished
Oh,
it.
awesome.
Finished it today. That is the cover.
Nice.
That is the cover. So cool. I was so happy to finish it.
Are you at the Hack 5 warehouse, Patrick?
I am.
Because I hear dogs barking.
Ooh, let
Yes.
the dogs out.
It's not bothersome to me. It's just I'm like, oh, Patrick's not at home.
It's funny. They usually don't come over this microphone, so I'm kind of impressed that they're that. Actually,
It's
that
one of
loud.
those days.
You have to hear them at 5 in the morning. It's kind of awe-inspiring and terrifying. Like there's some sort of sacrificial dog worship thing going on over there. And then they all start howling, and it's the saddest thing you've ever heard in your life.
Aw. It's probably a cat. All right. You ready to do a show?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's
Force
do
be
this.
with you.
And also with you.
Dun, 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 dun. Sorry.
My name is Len Peralta. I'm seeing Star Wars tomorrow at 10 a.m.
All right, here we go.
This is a public DTNS announcement. A message in English will follow. Välkommen till showen med dagliga teknologiska nyheter med Tom Merritt och gäster. Jag heter Carl och är en av flera exekutiva medproducenter och alltså en av Toms chefer. Det kan du också bli genom att donera $1 eller mer i månaden på patreon.com.
This is the Daily Tech News for Friday, December 18th, 2015. Spoiler free. I'm Tom Merritt. Joining me today, Mr. Patrick Norton, host of Tech Thing, as well as many other fine internet products. How are you, sir?
I am full of no spoilers. I am spoiler-free. I went through the spoiler test by the people with the thing and the vents and the micro-examination.
You didn't
No
watch the
spoilers.
movie, right? Is that what you're saying?
I could have just said that, but
Or, I mean, I guess you could have gone on the internet and researched it without watching it and then spoil it. That would be extra nasty. Also spoiler-free is Len Peralta, who is here to illustrate the episode as usual. How are you, sir?
My name is Len Peralta. And I like Star Wars. It is my friend. All right. No,
So Len's very excited.
Yeah, I am excited. Not seeing it until tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. So I'm trying my hardest to stay off of social media and not spoil anything for me.
All right. Well, we are going to spoil tech news. If you don't want to know what the tech news today is, tune out now, because we are going to talk about that. Let's start with the headlines. Samsung Pay and Apple Pay have both reached agreements with China's Union Pay. That's a bank, along with support from partner banks. Union Pay is the only bank in China that conducts interbank payments. So you kind of need them on board so that money can be transferred all around. Samsung Pay and Apple Pay still need testing and certification before they can launch, but they expect to get that next year. And Reuters has 3 people familiar with the matter who say Target is in the early stages of building their own mobile payment system because their breach getting Patrick his 3rd credit card in 12 months apparently wasn't enough.
don't get me started on this.
We are going to get you a little started on it as our discussion topic is about mobile payments today, but we can wait for that.
Wait.
Evernote is ending distribution updates and support for several standalone apps, including Sketch. But just the Windows, iOS, and Android versions. The Mac version is going to stick around. The Evernote Clearly Reading extension and the Evernote Pebble app are also going away. Company said features from the apps are integrated into Evernote's main app. And as far as Pebble users, they can use the PowerNoter app. Apps will not be available after January 22nd. Even if you download them before then, don't forget they won't be updating them or supporting them after January 22nd. Seems like Evernote is in a cost consolidation mode here.
Yeah, I don't know. They're cutting everything off. They're shutting things down. Either that or they just realize, I can remember at one point we were like, less than 5% of our downloads go to this, particular weird, obscure video format. Mm-hmm. Let's cut that off, and hopefully they'll migrate somewhere else. I mean, it's frustrating because it seems like everybody's consolidating at the end of the year now, cutting things off, reducing things, except for Twitter, who's realized that their entire ecosystem being understood depends on third-party products that they internalized, screwed up, and are now desperately trying to fix.
Networking vendor Juniper announced Thursday it had discovered unauthorized code in its Screen OS that could, quote, allow a knowledgeable attacker who can monitor VPN traffic to decrypt the traffic. Juniper has released a patch that fixes that backdoor, as well as an SSH bug that they found. The issues do not affect the newer SRX firewalls running the Junos OS. eWeek points out Juniper was named as making devices that could be infiltrated by the US NSA in a December 2013 story in Der Spiegel that was covering documents leaked by Edward Snowden. So it may be that Juniper was looking to see if that was true and finally found the back door.
Yeah, I don't know. It's been so many unbelievable flaws this year. And I'm also, the idea of running a DDoS against their system internally by doing an SSH into it just seems like there's a big door that they need to shut in a very quick way.
Well, they shut that one too, so that's good. And it's very disturbing to find unauthorized code. Like having an SSH bug that somebody could DDoS you on is a bad vulnerability, but it's the kind of vulnerability that there is precedent for. Having some unauthorized code that made its way into your product, that seems deeply disconcerting as well.
Who put that there? Why did they put that there? What did it do? What else did they put there? Can we use the signature from this code to try to figure everything else out? No, I wouldn't be uptight if I ran Juniper Networks products.
No, absolutely not. TVsTravis wanted us to note that VLC is now available for Chrome OS. Videoland's president Jean-Baptiste Kempf wrote that the VLC team ported the Android version of VLC using app runtime for Chrome, which let them reuse 95% of the code. That way they didn't have to rewrite the whole thing from scratch in JavaScript. You can get VLC for Chrome OS on the Chrome Web Store right now. This is one of the few apps that I've heard of taking advantage of the ability to do app runtime for Chrome, but with all of these rumors about Chrome and Android potentially moving towards more merger or overlap, maybe more will do this, or maybe it's just VLC has like ace coders. I don't know.
Chrome says that they are not going away. That was grossly misinterpreted, that statement a couple months ago. And I don't know. I think it's good for Chrome. The more people that migrate apps, using ARC over to Chrome, the more functional the operating system will be. By the way, it's really good.
You like it? Yeah. Huh? Okay.
No, I did. Well, I looked at a couple of $200 PCs last week on Tech Thing, like one running Windows 10 and one running Chrome, and I expected to be disgusted by them both, and they were both actually pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's and this is a good example of an app on Chrome that doesn't need an internet connection. They do exist. You can just play the videos that you've stored on the machine.
It's a short list.
It is a short list. TM204 wanted us to mention that Ars Technica reports the US FCC has asked Comcast, AT&T, and T-Mobile USA to answer questions about their programs that exempt certain types of data from counting against customer data limits. Relevant technical and business personnel are being asked to be made available for discussions by January 15th. AT&T allows advertisers to pay for data they allow advertisers to pay for your data, basically, and say, oh, if you get it from us, it won't count against your cap. T-Mobile exempts video and audio services, although they don't charge the services for that, and Comcast exempts its own stream TV service, which they say runs on their internal network and never goes out on the internet, hence the need not to count it against the cap. The FCC is quick to say, we're only investigating this to find out more about it. We are not investigating it as pursuant to a complaint or to shut it down.
Well, they can't call it a complaint, because then the Republican Party will try to finish defunding them. or denying their ability to, I don't know, yeah. This is exactly the kind of chicanery that especially on Comcast part, that net neutrality is supposed to prevent. And
really, see, I kind of feel like Comcast has the strongest defense here, which is if you shut off the internet, our stream TV service still works. We're just running it on our own pipes. There might be an anti-competitive
streaming internet service, which we also opened up to other IP-based services that we choose, that is not part of our internet service but runs in exactly the same way but is private, ergo is not internet service, and we can invite anything we want onto it.
Well, basically they're saying we run cable over the same lines. That does not a net neutrality violation. This one, it is an anti-competitive thing where you might say, hold on, you're putting a you're putting a video service out here that competes with Netflix, which is also subscribed to by your customers. That's no different than cable TV to me from the customer end. You're
probably right. I probably should back down, but it's just the fact that Comcast is working so hard to lay the groundwork for their cap and effectively giving you a 50% boost by, as we start sort of, as more and more households are downloading more and more 1080p video and starting to move towards 4K video distribution. Comcast is laying all of this nice groundwork in all of these small and medium-sized cities so they can effectively build in a 50% increase over your existing cable rate, and in most places, or cable internet rate, and in most of the country there will be no opposition to this. Although if you're like in Chattanooga, if you're in Gig City or someplace else that Google serves, it is a great time. If they hit you with that cap, that threat to up your prices, just go to Google.
Well, AT&T is also announcing, we'll see what they actually turn on the service, but they're announcing lots of fiber competition in lots of places. So
it's a little late.
We'll see more of that. Google is coming to more places. Better late than never. I mean, this stuff takes time. So
I know, but it just seems like AT&T could have taken broadband speeds more seriously a long time ago.
Yeah. I agree that they should have reformed before now. But I'm glad to see them at least saying the right things. If we actually see more competition, that's what I want.
I was about to say you're a kinder human being than I am, and then you went to the say the right thing. I do the right thing.
Well, because they made a big deal how we're bringing fiber to Los Angeles. I'm like, where? Every zip code I put in says it's not available yet. So
yeah, well, this is also the company that invented the idea of a technical economist so they could write 400-page précis for Congress to explain why just because you're paying for 50 megabits down, Thomas, doesn't mean you actually get 50 megabits down more than one web page at a time. This whole idea that you can stream video over your service? No.
Facebook holds the title for top smartphone app in the U.S., according to a new Nielsen report. Facebook is estimated to have 126 million users per month, with YouTube at number 2 with 97 million. Facebook Messenger came in at number 3 with 96.4 million users, a 31% increase over 2014. Google Search, Google Play, Google Maps, and Gmail follow in that order, and Apple Music landed at number 9 with 54.5 million users. TechCrunch writes that the ranking was based on the average number of unique users based on a monthly survey of more than 30,000 U.S. mobile subscribers of 13 years of age or older. It's all Facebook and Google when you're talking about apps that people use.
I'm just still amazed that Apple Music Man hasn't come in at 9.
Yeah, well, free trial, I guess. I mean, I used it, a little bit when it first launched because it was free.
Another glowing endorsement.
A little backhanded, I get it, but yeah, it's always interesting to see this. I don't think there's anything surprising in it, though.
True.
Except maybe that Apple Music one. Friday morning, the U.S. Congress passed its omnibus budget bill, within which, as we had mentioned earlier, was the entire text of the Cybersecurity Information Sharing Act of 2015 without any previously added privacy protections. There had been some compromises attempted. Those compromises were not included in this text. If signed by the president, as it's expected to be, the law would allow companies to share data with government agencies without liability if needed to combat a cybersecurity threat. It also eases restrictions on the government sharing of information among its own agencies for the same purpose. I've never been against the actual intent of allowing information to be shared easily when going after security problems. I think that is necessary. I think there needs to be brakes on liability, and especially within the government, to allow agencies to share information with each other easier. What has always been the problem here is they baked in no privacy protections to make sure that data was scrubbed of unessential data. And when they tried to add those, they killed the bill and then slipped it in without them on a budget omnibus. This is unfortunate.
It's a scumbaggery. This is, I don't know how, I can't think of another word I think fits it better. This is just scummy and vile, and I'm disappointed in Senator Feinstein and everyone else who's all enthusiastic about this bill. It sucks. It's just going to be nasty and messy and open up a lot of information to organizations and agencies that don't need it.
Yeah, it does. Here's the thing. You're going to hear a lot of people defend this bill saying, hey, we need to be able to do these things and we're going to catch criminals with them. And they're right. We need to be able to do the things that this bill allows. What they didn't do was prevent this law from being abused. There are no safeguards now for someone deciding, well, we think this is a crime, so we're going to use the information for this. Or we've shared all this information into this database. Oops, somebody looked at it all, and now they have your information. Those are the kinds of things that I'm upset about with this.
Yes, and especially given the extraordinary success and security that our federal government has had in the past couple of years.
Hey, man, don't pick on the federal government. It's every large organization on Earth has had a problem with that. And every large organization on Earth is beat up if they don't have the proper privacy policy and strict guidelines that say where they store your private information and how they handle it. The government just wrote you the worst terms of service in the world, is what just happened.
Effectively, they wrote no terms of service.
Yeah. Well, the terms are, we get your data, and you don't get to say anything about it. And again, private companies need to volunteer to hand this over. The government isn't like making them hand it over. It's not like a FISA court situation. But companies are going to be willing to do this because they want to track down somebody who's attacking their network. And so they're going to share things. And what this does is make it so that they don't have to worry about what they're sharing. They can share whatever they want without worrying about what's in there. So I guess at this point, since it's going to become law, go after the companies and pressure them to give you a term of service that says they won't hand that over. I doubt that that's going to work either, but that would be the only lever you'd have left other than getting this overturned.
Or, yeah, I was going to say, or just completely dumping everyone in Congress right now and electing people that actually respect the American populace.
You make it sound so easy.
Well, you know.
BlackBerry reported its first revenue rise in 9 quarters at $548 million, up 12% over the previous quarter. Still a drop over last year's $793 million. Company lost 3 cents a share, but that beat expectations of a loss of 14 cents a share. And software revenue rose from $78 million last quarter to $154 million. 70% of that is recurring, and they want to get that up to 80%. Some of this sounds really bad, going from 793 down to 548, but this is a battleship that John Chen has been trying to turn, and this shows that it is in fact turning.
Yes, slower, I'm sure, than he wants or anybody else wants, but it's not going down completely in flames. And you know, he's not trying to figure out how to raise it up off the. Well, I guess he is trying to figure out how to raise it up on the bottom, but it's higher off of the bottom than it was several months ago.
He's starting to push the helicopter that is BlackBerry OS off the side to give him a little ballast.
Ow.
Seattle Times reports that unnamed cargo industry executives say Amazon has been inquiring about the possibility of leasing around 20 Boeing 767 jets. The hope would be to put them in operation by the end of January. Amazon owns some drivers and some trucks. They also own warehouses. And there was even one part of the Seattle Times article that suggested maybe Amazon would carry packages for other people. If they had extra space, so they, you know, which is normal in the cargo business. So then they might become a shipper for all kinds of things.
Well, Amazon's always looking for another way to sort of diversify themselves in yet another corner. I mean, it's amazing how many companies essentially exist solely to service Amazon contracts, and I think it's curious that Amazon's actually doing this themselves rather than one of those companies kind of popping out of nowhere to manage this system for them. Or maybe it is, and people just haven't realized it's separate yet.
Well, it's the classic, almost 19th century story of like, oh, I built a train, but now I need some land, so I'll buy all the land. And now I need some oil, so I'm going to buy all the oil mines. And now I need a coal mine because I need a lot of coal. And then you end up with something that owns a company that owns everything end to end. I mean, it's perfectly natural for Amazon to go, these planes that we pay to take our packages don't do exactly what we want, so let's buy planes.
Well, yeah, it's kind of, you know, Gilded Age of you to think that way. And actually, they're a pretty Gilded Age. Well, I don't know. It's hard to say when you look at, like, you know, Google creating the Alphabet group of companies so they can, you know, make it easier for shareholders to digest the idea that, you know, hey, we're going to make autonomous vehicles and we do this web search thing. You know, certainly Amazon can get stranger and stranger. Although Amazon's businesses tend to seem to be core to the core business.
With exceptions, right? Stuff like, I'm trying to think, Goodreads is an example of something that's a little bit separate. Comixology has been a little bit separate. They do own some enterprises that they assume you would assume they would absorb, and they leave them alone. So
yeah, well, I mean, Comixology or Goodreads, these are all sort of things related to the core business, which is,
and yet they don't absorb them. I think that's what's so surprising to me.
They may not want to.
I'm trying to think. There are some other things they own too, and obviously there's all the web serving stuff. But yeah,
right.
It's
I want to search what does Amazon own. 12 companies you might not know that Amazon owns.
And
I'm
they are
right now. I don't know. Apparently the internet is slow today.
This makes good for good TV. I'm telling you.
IMDb.com, Alexa.com, DPR Review, Audible, Box Office Mojo, 8 Books, Woot, Love Film, Goodreads, you know that, Double Helix Games, Comixology, you mentioned, Twitch.tv, and that's not all. A9.com, Zappos, Amazon Basics, Pets.com, or at least a stake in, BookSurge, MyVIP, and the list goes on.
There you go, folks. Hey, submit some stories. Let us know what you want us to talk about. DailyTechNewsShow.reddit.com is an excellent place to do that. It is one of the main things we take into account when we decide what to put in the show every day. Get in there and vote. DailyTechNewsShow.reddit.com, and that is a look at the headlines. All right, so we got Apple Pay and Samsung Pay headed into China. That's not a real big surprise. Then we got Reuters saying, hey, Target might want to be making its own mobile wallet. And then we heard last week, was it last week? It was the 10th, that Walmart wants to make its own mobile wallet. Walmart and Target are both still, even though they're making their own wallets, part of Currency, which is a merchant customer exchange effort to create its own mobile payment system, and that's the one most famous in the United States anyway, for getting Apple Pay out of the CVS drugstore chain because they wanted to wait until Currency was implemented. Currency, Walmart, Target, all of those systems work on the idea of scanning a QR code with your camera on your phone to activate the payment system, and Android Pay and Apple Pay work by doing an NFC communication. And then, of course, Samsung has their own Loop Pay involvement for Samsung Pay, which means you don't even have to have NFC. You can use NFC or you can emulate a card swipe. So that's a mess. Then you start wondering, well, wait a minute. If it's already a mess with all of these different payment systems, Patrick, why is it, and I have an answer for this, but why is it that we have Target and Walmart wanting to get in? Wouldn't they just wait to pick a winner and go with that?
No, because then the winner would get the skim, and they wouldn't get the skim on the billions of dollars of revenue they gather, harvest, sell annually. I mean, basically, everybody wants that percentage. Everybody wants the credit card percentage, or the processing percentage, or the access to the traffic, or the access to the data, or to keep their data out of other people's services. I mean, the Apple Pay and Samsung is profoundly obvious, right? 1.35 billion people. I think the CNN article says that Apple made $12.5 billion in revenue in China in Q4, primarily on the new iPhones and tablet sales and stuff. It's the largest. At this point, it's the largest and most attractive market out there, and Walmart and Target, they want to keep a greater percentage of the money that's coming through the door, and anytime they can eliminate any partner that's part of the revenue stream. I mean, I love Patreon. I love Patreon to death, but 5% of it goes to Patreon, 5% of it goes to the credit card company, and it's like, if you're Walmart or Target, you're big enough to try to eliminate those partners to turn around and be like, hey.
Well, and that was the attractiveness of Currency was that they would bypass the whole credit card system and avoid a ton of fees, not all of them, but a lot of them. What Walmart and Target are saying is that's taking too long, so we'll go ahead and partner up with the credit card companies, but we'll be able to strike a better deal because we're working directly with them instead of going, instead of just taking a card that comes in, which is essentially what you're doing with Apple Pay. It's just taking any card, and you have to pay a percentage to the credit card companies for that. Right. The other consideration, though, is customer information. And this applies to Currency, Walmart, Target, any of them. Right. If you use Apple Pay, they don't know anything about you. In fact, they know less about you than if you use your credit card because it masks your credit card information and uses this dynamic number to verify you. Whereas if you use your Walmart payment system, Walmart will keep track of everything you buy, and that's valuable information to have about you.
Yeah, it is. I don't know. I mean, there's Android Pay, Samsung Pay, Apple Pay. I don't know. I keep thinking. And again, obviously, I'm a little cranky, after going through so many. I've 3 or 4 debit cards in 18 months. Like one got replaced. One was replaced for natural reasons. Then one got replaced for Home Depot. Then it got replaced for Target. And then I got a chip and pin card. The chip and pin card they should have been giving out 8 or 10 years ago. Which in theory will be the card to end all cards unless I decide to move everything onto my phone. But I find myself less than trustworthy of organizations that have had profound breaches in the past. I was like, hey, at least Walmart, they're pretty feral. And you're like, nah, nah, here's a link to a story from Walmart's Canadian photo store that A, had all of its customer information taken, and B, was like, that's nice.
Yeah, that's a rounding error to try to fix. Never mind. I think that Apple Pay and Android Pay provide the best hope for preventing breaches because they don't store any credit card information, and the retailers are going to be against us with this because they want to store your credit card information because they want to track you. But the other thing to keep in mind, and for people who actually understand how this works, I apologize, I'm going to oversimplify this, but for people to understand, you think when I go in and hand my credit card over, the merchant swipes it, a percentage is taken out to go to the credit card company, and the merchant keeps the rest. It's way more complicated than that. It's way more complicated than what I'm going to describe, but there's an excellent Ars Technica article from 2014, from just last October 2014, so just more than a year ago, about how this all really works. And to boil it down, I mean, the merchant is one part of this. The credit card issuer, the bank that gives you your card, like Bank of America or Chase or whatever, that's another part. Then there is the card processor. The processor is not your bank, and it's not the merchant. It sends the transaction info to the card issuer, your bank, to take money from your account, and it also takes a little cut along the way. And then there's the merchant acquirer, who signs up the merchants to accept cards and routes the transactions to the merchants. So when you make a payment, your card ID and your merchant's ID are sent to this processor, right? One of the four people involved in your transaction. An authorization request is sent to the bank that issued the card. Bank says, yeah, that's a good card. Approves or denies it, but approves the authorization. The merchant acquirer then, another of the four, separate from the processor, receives that response, relays that to the merchant. Then the merchant sends that transaction to the merchant acquirer to get their money. That merchant accounting system, which is sometimes a separate company, but sometimes part of the merchant acquirer, sends that transaction to the card network. Visa and MasterCard, by the way, operate outside of all of this. They're just an organization that processes and facilitates all this. They're not one of those four that we mentioned. You following me? No, you're not? Well, yeah.
I'm envisioning like you with the thing where you're drawing the football play on the screen,
Yeah.
and then the band comes out, and then I just...
The merchant, anyway, to finish it off for those who were following, the two of you, merchant accounting system sends the transaction to the card network and deducts fees and instructs the difference to be deposited into the merchant account through something called the automated clearinghouse. Whenever you see on your bill, ACH, that's what that means, automated clearinghouse, which is another entity involved, sometimes owned by one of the four, but not always. So you've got a lot of people taking a little cut. It's no surprise that the retailers are like, gosh, if we did the currency thing, we at least cut one entity out of this and one slice of that fee that we get to keep. And on a scale like Walmart, that's a lot of money. And you can understand why there's resistance from all of these pieces of these transactions to be like, well, hold on, Apple Pay. If you happen, what happens to my fee? Because maybe in this particular card issuer system, I get it, but now I'm cut out because you're using that dynamic number from this other system. So there's a lot of complexities and a lot of stakeholders to get to sign off on this stuff.
Get to sign off of, or who are going to throw roadblocks in at every opportunity to prevent a simpler financial transaction system for the end user and/or tomato tomato my ass. I don't know. I am filled with profound concerns at the ability, and who knows, maybe Target learned their lesson, and maybe Walmart just had a thing in Canada and I know it's Canada. It's a humorous thing. Please don't fill my inbox. I don't hate Canada, but perhaps the Canadian division of Walmart had a bad day, and that doesn't represent the U.S. Walmart operations. But it's man, I'm curious to see how this all ends out, and I'm curious to see whether or not it turns out to be secure. I mean, there's part of me that wants that believes that the Apple Pay system, and the Android systems are better in a number of ways from a security standpoint, but there have been so many abject, vile fails.
As if with one voice, BioCow and Tinvec, both in the chat room, talked about the blockchain, right? And don't let that word scare you. BioCow says, you're describing why Bitcoin was made. The public does all of this instead of those companies who charge a fee. That's the way the blockchain is supposed to work. And Tinvek said, relating to the recent blockchain talk, could this system be replaced with something open source? I don't know that that's exactly what the Linux Foundation's effort with IBM is meant to do, but it doesn't seem outrageous to think that it could. The reason it might not is because you have all of these companies who are card issuers and processors and merchant acquirers who are going to resist something coming along and cutting them out of the process.
Yeah, and it's also I mean, I like the idea of blockchain. It just, or blockchain-like technology, whatever we're calling, like the whole IBM Intel Cisco. I mean, you still have. I mean, IBM is, does amazing things. Cisco can have good days. London Stock Exchange, JP Morgan. These are all, there's a lot of sophisticated, smart organizations tied into this. But I don't know. I like the idea of the Open Ledger project. I can't imagine how many decades that would take to bring into fruition. Like, I don't know what the tempting fruit on that is for the majority of the players to move on to that, because there are so many bit players in this in so many corners, most of whom are doing such a half-assed job. Not to be cranky. Yeah. Starting with the corporations that are that have the brick and mortar stores or the websites where the money's coming in, and building out through there. I mean, there's a lot of them that do a fantastic job, and they're fighting against an unbelievably dense, entrenched, vicious, dedicated enemy. Because the amount of intelligence being applied to breaking into systems these days to steal things is kind of incomprehensible. And so we need, this is like yet another area where we need something to be rebuilt from the ground up to make it all more secure and more functional. But every time I see something that thinks like it's going to make everything work better, anything, Dianne Feinstein will probably figure out a way to ban it.
Or some vested interest, right? Somebody that's usually what gets in the way of a good idea. Maybe one thing that they could do is get the retailers on their side and say, look, we know you're going to lose a little bit of tracking customers. Maybe there's other ways to get them to give you that information. But hey, what if we could get rid of all of your credit card processing fees? I mean, would that be something you would be interested in, Mr.
Absolutely.
Retailer?
And then the credit card processing, the people who collect the credit card processing fees are going to go insane, and they're going to call their lobbyists.
If you get a Walmart on your side, then you got Clash of the Titans at least. I'm not saying it's a clear win.
If you get Walmart and Amazon, both taking all of their money they spend in Congress to help keep this thing from being blocked, yes, and they do it for 2%. They do it for 0.5%.
Yeah. Let's get on to our pick of the day from Alan, who wants to know if you've heard of an app called Seene, S-E-E-N-E. I have not heard of this until he wrote in. He says it's super neat. Basically, it's kind of like a 3D Instagram. You snap and pan horizontally for about a second, and it works out the parallax. You go to seene.co, S-E-E-N-E.co. Not only are they embeddable, but it lets you export it as an animated GIF or MP4 too. Nice. It's free on iOS and Android. You can see their popular posts here, and he's got a link to the gallery to get an idea of what it's like. He says, sadly, their fancy 3D scanning app demoed in the main site is not public, only their Instagram-ish one, but it's still pretty cool.
It is really cool. I like the cat nose.
Yeah, thank you, Alan, for sending that along. Send your picks to us, folks. Feedback at dailytechnewsshow.com. You can find my picks and more at dailytechnewsshow.com/picks. Real quick, one message before we get out of here. Kevin Jenkins says, I've been listening to the rapid developments in autonomous vehicles that you've been regularly reporting on, and it strikes me that the country that should adopt this technology first is Saudi Arabia. Saudis have one of the world's worst road accident rates, if not the highest sometimes, and introducing autonomous vehicles would neatly sidestep the issue of women not being allowed to drive. Further, Saudi is a wealthy country that could afford to invest in infrastructure to make this a reality. Setting aside, the accuracy and presentation and human rights and all of that side of it, there do seem to be some really nice conditions that plug right into taking benefits from autonomous vehicles.
Yeah, well, also, if you look at traffic fatality death rates, it's actually, I don't think Saudi Arabia is quite that high.
Okay, so Kevin may have overestimated.
Eritrea is 48.4, Dominican Republic, Libya, Thailand, Venezuela, Nigeria, South Africa, Iraq, Guinea-Bissau, and then Chad, Uganda. It goes on for a long time. But I don't know. I'm still kind of fascinated watching, Sacramento here in California kind of try to figure out how they are going to regulate this, which seems to be, they seem to be obsessed with like who's going to be responsible, who can we sue, who's the insurance going to be pinned on, right? Because they have to have a driver behind there.
Well, who's going to be responsible for anything that goes wrong is a very important question, and I get that their answer of whoever's operating the car, whether they're driving or not, is a little ham-fisted, but I think it's the right one to start with. I think you start there and then you work backwards. And I think Google's screaming about it because they look at this as way too slow.
Right.
And they may have a point, but honestly, in this case, I'm like, yeah, you know what? If let's not allow the ones without an operator because it'll freak people out. And as soon as one possible thing goes wrong, it sets us back 20 years. Let's go cautiously and get people used to the idea first. I think that's important.
Yeah, I also think the flip side of that is the likelihood of somebody to panic in a situation and grab the steering wheel or be upset that the autonomous vehicle is driving in a safe and prudent manner rather than as fast as they want to go, maybe more resultant in accidents and problems that will be.
But isn't that always going to be a risk with this, whether the liability is on the driver or not? And now you have a clear person at fault.
I'm waiting for the first case where there's a steering wheel on an autonomous system and somebody does something stupid, and what the chain of evidence is going to be, how the company is going to defend its autonomous driving system from the individual because you live in California, you see how people drive.
Man, it's X equals state you live in that statement. Like, and I've lived in a bunch of states, as you have too, right? I mean, what's the state that you were living in that you're like, wow, people here drive great?
Every time I visit Portland and I'm in a car, I think to myself, these people use turn signals. They're using a huge amount of space while they're driving. They're not panicking because it just rained. Did I mention they're using turn signals?
Yes, that you could have stopped right there. Like, that alone is a feat of humanity.
If only there was a way for you to indicate you wanted to turn your car in front of me at a right angle. I don't know. It's curious to watch that. I'm also, the other thing that's interesting is there's not actually a lot of infrastructure with the autonomous vehicles. All the stuff is coming out, and it's funny. Like I've been hit with my third or fourth pitch for a company that's selling like their LiDAR sensor for autonomous vehicle use or robotics use, one of which actually has a track history doing things that function. But it's interesting going to CES how many people or organizations are talking about this. But it's not, we're not talking about things like where we're embedding magnets in roadways or needing large computerized central control systems. They're literally making the vehicle capable of making intelligent decisions based on all of the information it can take in at the speed of a computer and with the capabilities of a computer to make decisions about braking and steering and acceleration and stuff. And none of these rely on any infrastructure to be put in place. In theory, it should be considerably safer for you to take. If the claims are true from Google and other organizations, you should be able to take one of their vehicles, drop it into traffic in North Jersey on Route 22 on 4 o'clock on a Friday night and say, get me to the airport, and it'll get you into the airport without you having a heart attack or being crushed.
Yeah. And unlike almost every other regulatory system in the United States, I feel like with driving, we actually do strike a good balance between safety and capability.
Yeah. The other thing that was nice about California was them being like, hey, we want to see your commitment to cybersecurity, and we want to know exactly what you're doing with the data, any telemetry data or tracking data on that. That, to me, was much more interesting than the idea of like, well, there has to be a steering wheel so the driver can leap in and take control in the event of an emergency. Which,
what are you collecting about people? What's your security measures? Those are good things, too. Well, that is it for this episode of the Daily Tech News Show. If you want to follow Patrick Norton, be careful. Stay about 100 yards back, because if he notices, he's going to ask you what you're doing. Or you could just go to Twitter, twitter.com/Patrick Norton, and follow him there. It's a much more enjoyable way to follow Patrick, I feel. And then you get to find out about the latest episodes of Tech Thing and stuff like that.
Woohoo! Tech Thing episode 50 went up today. Darren's on talking about drones. And by the way, if you are a security enthusiast, the Nano is available for developers who are looking to make code for it up at the Hack Shop.
The Pineapple Nano is a real thing.
Yes.
You can go take a look. HAK5.org. Check it out. Len Peralta, you have been busy, man. You've been writing. You've been drawing. What have you been
You know,
doing?
many years ago, I read a book called by Douglas Copeland called Generation X, and in that book, there is a concept known as option paralysis, where given many options, you choose none. And I think that's what kind of brought me to this image, which was, you talking about all these different options to pay, Apple Pay, Target, Samsung, Walmart, Android. But what really it comes down to is you have so many options, you have no money, man. That's the way I feel. It's like I have all these great options to pay you, but I just don't have the
I
capital.
can't afford to buy anything.
Exactly. You're giving me so many ways to pay you. I just don't have it. So it's option paralysis as far as money goes.
Len, we can't
And,
see the image.
What?
I don't see the image to which you are referring.
What happened?
I
Oh,
see
wait a
Len.
second. No. Here it is. 1 second. What happened?
I don't know. I was
There it
was
is.
really enjoying your audio interpretation.
There it is. There it is. I wonder how long that was. I hope I didn't pick my nose or something. But there it is. There's the image. Option paralysis as far as when it comes down to ways to pay but no money to pay you. So.
Spoiler-free shirt too. I like
And
that.
a spoiler-free shirt, yes. I had to put that in there for everybody. I figured I might as well. I'm all in with all these logos. I might as well get in there with this logo. So
I get a Stormtrooper logo, an Android logo, a Walmart logo, Target, Samsung, Apple. That's
There you
fantastic. LenPeraltaStore.com, of course, one place to take a look at that and get it. But there are other ways to get this art as well.
that's right. Actually, if you go to my Patreon, you can patreon.com/Len. You back at the $2.50 level, you get every single one of these as a digital file for free, along with your contribution to Patreon. And I also want to mention, if you're still looking for those great last-minute holiday gifts, lenperaltastore.com is a great place to go. I'm still taking orders for digital holiday cards, custom-drawn digital holiday cards, up until the 20th, so you still have time to do that. And plus, there's all kinds of great stuff, a lot of DTNS related stuff, a lot of really cool books and prints and all kinds of stuff. Great, unique things for every geek on your list. So
Yeah, if you are stuck for a gift, a digital gift is perfect at this point, right?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
go lenperaltastore.com. I mean, I sell some ebooks at tommerrittbooks.com.
There you go.
For the people lower on your list, you can check those out as well. And hey,
they all make great gifts. All digital stuff is a great gift for people.
yeah, absolutely. Big thanks to everybody who supports the show. If you're willing to support us, dailytechnewsshow.com/support will tell you all the different ways you can. For patreon.com, it's just $1. I mean, you can give as much as you want, but we only ask for $1. You can give $1,000. I don't think you should, but we're not going to stop you. You can also give it by PayPal. You can give it at you can buy it at our store. We have shirts, T-shirts, mugs. We got things for you, as they say. So head on over to dailytechnewsshow.com/support or patreon.com/DTNS. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. You can give us a call, 512-59-DAILY. It's 512-593-2459. Catch the show live Monday through Friday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv. And visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. Back on Monday with Veronica Belmont and John Schieffer, director of the movie Algorithm. See you then.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
Boom.
Yay.
Good show. What should we call it? The worst terms of service in the world. Terms of disservice, spoiler free, who let the dogs
Who let the dogs out? That's a good one.
Daily Tech Dog Show.
Hello.
Hey, Jenny.
Jenny?
I was just gonna say, I thought maybe you didn't hear me reading the titles.
Didn't hear you reading the titles,
No.
no.
Yeah, that's weird.
I don't know. I cut off once toward when you were saying goodbye to me, Tom. Like my video stopped, and I was just
Oh,
like,
really?
Uh-oh. Then it came back in towards the end, and I was just kind of like.
The
Bring out
Retail
the
Force
crashing.
Awakens.
Ooh.
I kind of like that one.
Daily Tech Dog Show.
I don't want to call out the dogs.
I mean, you let them out.
That will make
And I
people
call them out.
listen for them and then be annoyed
Yeah,
more.
right.
I like the retail Force Awakens.
Yeah. There's no other title for today.
I mean, it's December 18th, and it fits with the main topic.
There you go.
Man, now I want to read Generation X again.
I was like
Yeah.
scoping out because I know I have a copy of it somewhere, but I couldn't see it.
I've always remembered that option paralysis, given the
Yeah.
the many choices, choosing none, because that happens to me all the time.
Man,
That's a great book.
and it ages well, unlike a lot of the stuff he's written.
You know, another one, yeah, and I agree with that. But the Microsurfs.
Roger? Yes.
Microsurfs is a book that really captured a moment in the .com boom time very
Yeah.
well, I thought.
I'd like to reread that to see, because I agree totally with you, because it was so spot on. I'm curious.
Yeah, I
how
haven't
much
read
of
it in a while.
Feels reflected. Well, how much it feels like a history or a parallel to a lot of the stuff that's going on right now.
Yeah.
Right on. I got to figure out dinner for a bunch of people.
Meatloaf?
No, it's not going to be spaghetti.
Pizza. Burritos.
We lost 2 people, but we're
Squirrel.
bringing 2 other people in. So now I'm like, I gotta figure this out. Waffles are good.
Squirrel falafels.
Oh, falafels. I'm sorry. Waffles are good too, though.
Falafel waffles.
Falafel.
Where's home, Len?
Cleveland.
Okay.
Yes. And we still have no snow on the ground. It's been 50 all week. It's been nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been great.
It's Ohio. It's going to sneak up on you at the last minute.
Yeah, I know. But it's been nice having no snow, having no real cold temperatures here. It's been really kind of odd. A week out from Christmas. And...
I was in Portland. And it was like 32 degrees, and I was like, "This is cold."
Yeah. Yeah, no, we've been in the 50s. Actually, it reached up into almost to the 70s over the weekend. So it was great. Great.
Great.
Great. All right, so we won't see each other next week, right, Tom? No Friday.
No,
show?
won't be till what? January 7th?
Okay.
Whatever that Friday is.
Okay. Yeah.
Have a great Christmas, man.
Yeah, you too. Enjoy everything, and yeah, for sure. I'm sure we'll be talking again very, very soon. It'd be nice. Oh, and I'm talking to you on Tuesday, right, Jenny?
Yes.
Excellent. Cool. We'll do this. So I'll see Jenny, and but I won't see Roger. Bye, Roger. And Patrick, it was nice seeing you as well.
Good seeing you. By the
All
way,
right.
I'm always amazed at what you do.
Oh,
I just want to
thank
say
you.
that. It's just freaking incredible.
Thank you. That was a fun one to do, and I got done rather early, so that's why I think I was just sort of sitting here looking over some notes. I don't know when that video went off, but I was like looking through notes.
Well, I thought, oh, he's gonna like just talk to the people directly today before he unveils it, and then I kept waiting for you to unveil it.
I didn't think anybody could see me, so.
Surprise!
Well, we saw lots of the inside of your nose, Len.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. That's the best. That's awesome.
I'm kidding.
That's gonna be our
kidding.
tease.
Well behaved.
You won't believe what's inside Len's nose.
They showed the inside of his nose, and you won't believe what they found.
5 things I couldn't believe we found inside Len's nose for
25
free.
things that Len Peralta has in his nose, right?
I want to see those across the bottom of your website now.
All right, I gotta take off. It was nice seeing everybody. Merry Christmas to everybody, and
Yeah, Merry Christmas,
Merry
Len.
Christmas.
all right, take care. We'll see you.
Bye.
Oh my goodness. That was fun. Was that okay? Did I do what I was supposed to do?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
I'm always like afraid to talk because you guys always seem more professional and organized than I do.
Not today.
Wait, what?
Today.
You talking to me?
I have a complicated inner life. Oh man,
No, this was fun. This was good.
I enjoyed it.
Oh, shoot. I meant to watch it in 3D. Wait.
Those are so cool.
Are they? You like these?
I
was
do.
Sort
I
of
saw
reg-
Eileen's. I like those, the BB-8 branded ones.
Well, so they had Captain Phasma, Kylo Ren, Stormtrooper, and BB-8.
Did you see it in 3D?
It's the only light side of
Yeah.
so I went for BB-8.
I think that's good.
Oh man, so you saw it in 3D then?
Yeah.
What'd you think in 3D? 3D or 2D, or does it matter?
I don't think this movie in any way changes what your opinion of 3D versus 2D is normally.
Okay. Yeah, someone's like, should I see it in IMAX 3D? I'm like, can you see it in IMAX without 3D?
Yeah, I mean, if you like 3D, then you should probably see it in 3D. But if you normally are like, I don't really care about 3D, there's nothing here that would change that.
Right.
I don't think.
Also, it's hard to cry into 3D glasses.
Oh, I can cry anywhere, anytime, any glasses, any hat. You just need to get better at crying.
I've been trying to manage how much I'm gonna cry in the opening by listening to the repeated Star Wars opening theme. Like,
All right, here's the one thing I will say. Here's one thing.
Starts and you just start wailing.
The one thing I will say is that they didn't have the sound on when the Lucasfilm Limited thing came up.
Interesting.
There it was just quiet. I was like, well, that's weird. And then right at the beginning of the theme, you hear that get turned up.
They're like, we need sound for this movie.
Yeah.
Hi, Jimmy.
Oh,
Maybe it was a silent protest against, the thing.
Against the lack of the
Yeah.
20th. Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, I've been sort of like trying to stress train myself so that I don't embarrass myself.
Oh, just be embarrassed and then go watch it again once you, 2 or 3 more times so you finally get through it and figure out what the whole second act is. Because the first time you saw it, you
definitely lines I missed, and I don't know if they're important lines because the audience was making too much noise in reaction, right?
Yeah.
The thing that the thing that really freaked me out, like the last time I saw one of these in a really huge theater was the Star Wars re-release when he did the new when
fix them up, whatever your opinion is about.
Yeah, and the new explosions and stuff, and it was crazy because it was this huge theater that no longer exists in Manhattan. There were upwards of 1,500, probably close to 2,000 people.
The Ziegfeld?
No, it was a relatively obscure midtown theater. It just happened to be huge and beautiful, and now it's an apartment building. But but what was trippy was the person next to me was speaking every line under his breath.
Whoa.
Like just loud enough I can hear, including lines that didn't exist. Like this was the opening night, one of the first showings, and he knew all of the lines to the scenes that had never been seen before, which was like, because I was like, okay, he's memorized all the dialogue, and I'm like, okay, he knew what Jar Jar, it was, and I started to realize about 2/3 of the way through the movie that there were about 100 people in the theater who were doing the exact same thing, and if you listen really carefully, you could hear them all whispering to themselves as they talked their way through the movie. It was weird, but it was really, really cool because you so rarely get that level of passion and dedication in a way that's not, I don't know, it was kind of extraordinary in a lot of ways.
Well, if anyone talks all the way through this movie, I will punch them.
Even if they're speaking the right words.
Yeah, I don't care. Just no.
I don't know. I'm still blown away that Anthony was doing the red carpet thing, and he just his level of enthusiasm, like when he saw Carrie Fisher and his head exploded. Yeah. I was like, I'm going to treasure that.
That's do you have the animated GIF?
Oh, hell yes, I do. I emailed him like, it's going to take me forever to find these on the GMA website. He's like, they're all on StarWars.com, and I was like, dude, did you pee yourself when that call came in? Hey, do you want to do this?
Well, then you also get George Lucas trash-talking the Jurassic World producer. Have you seen
Kennedy?
that?
Yeah, that was cute.
Yeah.
Frank Kennedy?
Oh, man.
And Anthony's like, you see Anthony's just like, whoa.
I'll just be over here.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
It will crush you like a bug.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing it, but it's going to be, I'm trying to decide if how we're going to do the logistics, if I can get Sarah and myself and Seamus there, or if we're going to have to do it like separately. Yeah. Send Seamus and Sarah there.
Finn's still too young, huh?
Or we could take Triss to it, but I don't think Triss could get through an entire movie, even if it wasn't filled with incredibly loud noises and
Why did I call him
fights.
Finn?
He's a very Huck Finish character.
I have Star Wars on the brain, I guess.
It's all good, man. Oh my goodness. Right, I'll get off the phone because I phone Google Hangout because I can just talk like this all afternoon.
Yeah, no worries. We just stay live until I'm done publishing. So, but if you need to go do stuff, man, go do stuff.
I wasn't sure if I was like you guys waiting to get off.
No.
The internet.
Where I'm waiting for processing to complete at SoundCloud. It's 51%.
I might have to go because I have a Star Wars cake that needs managing.
Are you picking it up or are you making it?
I picked it up already. You remember the 1-year anniversary of the original Star Wars when they had a poster that had the cake on it that said Star Wars because it had been in theaters like continuously for a year. Remember that was a very old poster. So the people who made that cake is this place called Cake and Art. Made my Star Wars cakes because Matt gets all my birthday cakes made there, and we did it. It's Han Solo frozen in carbonite. And it's basically a chocolate bar of Han Solo frozen in carbonite, and then it's a great cake. And then it says on the little thing, "It's Star Wars Redemption Day." So yeah, that's my cake. Don't wear it out. But I gotta go put it in the fridge. So I don't want Han Solo to melt before his appointed time.
Yeah, that's always awkward.
Yep. But it should be good. Well, for everyone that hasn't seen it yet, I hope you enjoy seeing it. For everyone that has, I hope you enjoy seeing it again. Lots of pictures to come.
You're gonna bring pictures. We're gonna spoil it. I can see you now taking video of key moments so you can bring them in.
No, I'm bringing a lot of people to a movie theater. Like 30 of our friends. We got a whole row. We did it up, and so I need to go logistically prepare for all of their arrivals.
And I am out of the post.
Well, look at that.
So thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.